Don't miss our first look review of the brand new, highly anticipated Shadow War Armageddon box set.
Spiky bits.
What's up, Hobby Maniacs? Baer here again with you today, taking a look at what everybody wants. But apparently it's allocated. It's sold out in 10 minutes on Games Workshop site here in the States. But we got one. We got our hands on one. We didn't get it early, but we got it just the same, so we can take a look at it for you. Now, let me tell you what, 130 bucks for all this seems like, at cursory look, a very good deal for what you get inside here. Now, it is a super heavy box set. I mean, this is a solid, very well constructed, thick cardboard box. It's got all the dope graphics on it. Apparently, when you turn it over, it goes to the wrong side. Here, it shows you all of the contents, of course, the 2 squads of scouts and not one. It does come with normal scouts and sniper scouts, which was actually kind of hard to see. Now, I didn't really pick up on that at first, to be quite honest. I thought there was just a normal squad of scouts, so I think those orc boys are in for a bit of trouble. Now, it does come with the 21 miniatures like we talked about here. The contents, of course, the 120-page book. Now, Games Workshop recently said on their site that they will be making the rules available to folks a little bit easier because, of course, they have all the new releases coming out down the road for all this terrain, of course, so that's just smart. That makes sense. All sorts of sets of terrain in here. Of course, you've got 3 of the new sets which basically come contained in this box right here. 3 of the old school templates now rendered and cast in red. 64 of the counters, 7 dice. It does come with a sustained fire dice, which was a little curious. Haven't read through all the rules yet. Don't exactly know how it works, but there it is. That's what it looks like, all dope, and on the Sector Mechanicus board itself right there, which obviously pairs well with this one. So here it is. Let's open it up. Take a look at this bad boy here. Like I said, it is a ginormous box for 130 bucks. So let's see what we get. Let's slide this out of the way here. Of course, you get the orc boys. You kind of imagine that, right? Nothing new there. You get the Space Marine scouts. Nothing new there. Scouts with sniper rifles. Nothing new there. Don't really need to spend a lot of time on that one. Those have been out for quite some time. Sustained fire dice, pack of dice, or pack of bases for all your models. It looks like this game is based around 25 millimeters. Supposedly. I mean, obviously it's not a hex-based game, so you can pretty much fit them on anything you want there. Now let's zoom in a little bit and take a look at some of these sprues. And then we're going to break down the terrain because I really want to take a look at the terrain. Now, if you noticed on the box, it did say this was manufactured in China. So this is not your typical, and you can tell just by looking at it, this isn't your typical multi-part plastic that you would get for scouts. It's a little bit chunkier, it's a little bit more cumbersome, but the detail is definitely there. So that's a good precedent to see coming out of Games Workshop, is this is high quality stuff right here. This isn't that big blocky terrain that we saw some of that initial Age of Sigmar release stuff done in, which I can understand. You know, there's some cost points there, and, you know, forecasting as such for a vertically integrated company such as Games Workshop, it makes sense at that standpoint. But for a lot of folks, maybe we expect a little bit better quality for the price that we're paying, and I just wanted to be 100% thorough in my reviews of that. But this here, you know, you can definitely see there's detail here. I mean, you've got vents, you've got hoses, you've got mechanicum symbols of all kinds and varieties, you've got manhole covers, pipe covers, little vents and things. It's just all over the place. Like, so you've got one of these sprues, and then you've got another one of the, I guess, very similar sprues here that combined together make the Thunderdome of sorts. And then you got some extra tank pieces, and you can have open vents or closed vents, whatever your fancy is right there. Very cool stuff. And then here's the big tank version right here, which when you combine these together, you get one about this big, give or take, because these are all of the sides. And then there's the porthole, or the hatch, the man hatch right there, the stuff that goes in the top and bottom. Here is part of your plank decking section, and we're going to come back to this. I'm going to clip a couple of these out, and we're going to try putting it together because it appears to be kind of modular. Now, I'm not sure over time if it's something that you could attach and reattach, but you can see here, just glancing at it, that some of these ports or some of these holes right here definitely slot in underneath. Very similar to, you know, almost very similar to Legos, except for it doesn't in a hatch to a round peg configuration. So it isn't quite round to round hole to round hole wouldn't quite work, but it is round hole to, what is this, a hex? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So it's a hex space. Here's some of the vertical column supports right here, which have the staggered little prong system that looks like if you attach the gantries, one will attach there and one will attach there to give it support. And then there's little plates that appear to go right on top, right here. You can see these are the gantry pieces. So if you're connecting the column, you would connect one there, and then these plate sections here actually attach to the top to help make it all a little bit more secure, I suppose. Don't know. I want to clip some of these off and play with it. So there's one gantry piece. Then it looks like we've got two of these, we'll call them skid pads for lack of a better term. So it almost looks like a little faux landing pad with a huge ass ladder right here, a whole bunch of wires and things, which also look to be able to slot into the bottom, which I think is pretty neat. And then some other of the supports. This looks like some sort of fortress thing that goes on the side that looks to slot in. These have little notches that look to be about the same height to just slot in right there. It doesn't look like you need glue. But I'm wondering in the long run, same with this one, it looks like a corner bastion. I'm wondering in the long run if it does seem modular, almost Lego fashion. I don't know if you're allowed to say Lego and Games Workshop in the same sentence, but it almost seems very regular in modular attachability. But I'm not sure over time if those pieces, even though they are very bulky and they seem very sturdy, if they would eventually give. So you've got the assembly instructions there. And another feature I like about Games Workshop, coming on so strong with their packaging and their out-of-boxing experience, is the little lithograph, the full box lithograph. Now we saw that with the Talons of the Emperor box. I think we saw that with another box recently as well, but I can't remember which one. But what it does is it basically protects the paper material, any of the templates, the card punch outs, anything like that. It protects it from the rigors of these things impacting into it. So it's a very thick cardstock. So theoretically, any inadvertent bad touching by the plastics onto the paper would get absorbed by this. So it's awesome because if your piece of paper doesn't get destroyed, you can hang it up in your room and it's boom, instant poster / advertising for Games Workshop. But it also helps to protect the valuable materials and accessories from damage from the sprues right there. So here you got your instruction manuals for the scouts and everything, nothing new there. We're literally going to throw them to the side and never talk about them again. But then you've got the great punch out tokens for this game. There's a whole bunch of different double-sided ones. That was the stuff we were talking about there in the manual. You've got these ones right here, which are hidden markers. Then you've got your no, these are broken. This is the broken indicator, run, and Overwatch. There is Overwatch in the game. The game is actually very similar, just from me at a cursory look reading, to Kill Team itself. You got a quick start guide, which I definitely applaud as well. I was very frustrated with some of the games that came out recently that did not have a quick start rules, and it was very hard to get up and running with those games. Betrayal at Calth was one of those for sure that was extremely frustrating. And I really like this, a new render of the classic templates right here in a very nice, clear, see-through red, a transparent red, and it's got copyright 1998 on it, if, believe it or not, literally 20 years old. Do you believe that? These templates have been around for 20 years? That's crazy. I remember using the paper punch-out ones, or out of the old 2nd edition rulebook for Warhammer 2nd edition, and then they did some. They made green ones, which came in the 3rd edition box, which you still might be able to find today, and then I think they reprinted them for, what was it? Not Armageddon, but Apocalypse. So that was a little neat, little veteran, kind of a veteran player blast from the past there. So here's your quick start guide. Here is your rules book right here, and we're just gonna flip through this real quick. Now, it is very well done, 120 pages, tons and tons of rules. Like I said, Games Workshop said they're gonna put this out in some sort of form. It might be a download, it might be just a rules section, but what's really cool about it, let's take a look at the contents here. Now again, this is a first look review, so we're not gonna go into like how to play the game and all the things you need to know. But you can tell it's very well done. You've got a core rules section, you've got an advanced rules section, you've got the armory, which is all your weapons, and they work completely different than what they do in 40K. There's like short ranges and long ranges and all sorts of specialized things that really dial in to the small skirmish level nature of this game, which I find very appealing personally. Because let's face it, do you want a hobby on like, 5 to 10 models? And really do your doggone bestest and make them all dope and have all sorts of accessories on them? Or do you want to spend like hours and hours and hours painting up a whole army? If you have the option and you have an interest in a different faction, wouldn't it be cool to just like do up a few models just to get, dip your toe in the faction pond, so to speak, before you jump in and purchase a whole army. I mean, this is a great little appetizer for 8th edition, I feel like. I think it's a great little thing. Creating a kill team, like I said, a lot of stuff is very similar to the kill team mechanics in here. Of course, it is a little bit more in depth. I don't want to apples to apples it, but there's some noticeable comparisons that just at cursory look I was able to pick up on. Missions, you roll for missions. It's actually pretty cool how they do that. Shadow War campaigns, that's your whole campaign section. Really cool. You can get skills. You basically what happens before the battle, what happens after the battle. Very Mordheim-ish. I didn't play a lot of Necromunda, so I may be missing some Necromunda comparisons here. Kind of came on a little too late onto the scene for that one, but I see a lot of comparisons to Mordheim, which I'm very pleased with. Special Operatives, there are 3 different sections, Space Marine Orcs and Astra Militarum, of Special Operatives. Things like Terminators and things like Apothecaries and Ogryns that you can get to augment your normal kill teams inside this game here. So not just, the little dudes running around, now you can kick it up a notch. And then the reference material, which is really great. You can see here, the game was designed by Games Workshop in Nottingham, but of course it was printed by Panda Games in China, and of course the terrain as well, but maybe not so much the the scouts and things like that. So just a quick flip through it. You can kind of see advanced rules section, core rules section. There's your how to roll a D3, the artillery dice and things like that. Remember, the sustained fire dice made it come back there. Really cool to see. Haven't seen that in quite a few years. Turns, all sorts of different things with stray shots, exploding weapons. This book is very well done. Then the missions themselves are right here. This is kind of the section that you need to read up on how it all works. Here's all your missions, scenarios, the raid, the rescue, ambush, Shadow War campaigns. But really what you want to get going is use that quick start guide, and you can use your reference section right here. Well, there's the operative section, so you can kind of see how that works. So you can take, for like, say, Astra Militarum, you can get Commissars, Tech Priest Engineers, Ogryns, Tempestus Scions, and you can go from there. And for the Marines, it's a little bit, more stuff there. The reference section basically tells you how it all starts. Like, before the mission, hey, what are we playing for? After the mission, hey, what happened? Serious injuries, advancements, getting your skills and things. And then there's the list of all the skills on, I think it was the previous page. Where is it? Nope, it's not in here. Turn sequence, movement, shooting, leadership, and there's tokens for all of that, of course. Hand-to-hand combat, recovery phase, and it's weird because you actually make your charges first. And then all of your profiles, like I said, a lot of stuff was short and long ranges right now. So it's a little bit more to get acclimated to than playing 40k. And then there's your kill team roster, which you have permission to photograph for reference. Where's the skills section? I thought some of those were pretty neat. Here they are. So here's the chart on who can take what, and then the appropriate skills that you can get by rolling on a d6 right there. So very similar to kill team as well. And then your special operative section right there for Marines. So all of the majority of the stuff that's going to get you up and running is right here. And then also the quick start guide will also get you going really good and fast right there, because that was definitely something they were lacking. So the last thing we're going to do is take a look at some of this terrain, because I kind of want to play with it and see how it goes together. Alright, so here's that fun terrain that is sweeping all the hobby stores everywhere. This stuff looks really cool. It is super thick and highly detailed, so I think Games Workshop really knocked this one out of the park on the quality. So these are your basic building blocks that you are going to need to put together all of the terrain sets that come in this thing. Besides the big round container case tank things, those go together a little bit different, but that's fine. It all basically seems to follow the same mechanic, and that's where they just use this peg and slot system. So it's a peg into a hex. Now, I don't know why they did it that way. I suppose maybe there's more tension area for it to separate. Maybe it's because of Lego. I don't know. I am just a man that plays with toys, so I really can't tell you there. But basically, it just slots in. And you can see, while I didn't trim all the flash off, you kind of get the gist of how that works. Like, there's the little nubs on each side that lock in. And then you take these top plates, and again, didn't take all the flash off it, so you're kind of getting the hobo version of this, but the top plate goes on there and secures it down pretty good. Now, that is something that could be attached and reattached, and you could set up your train very modular, but you want to make sure that you do it very securely, because this, while it seems secure, the very first time you accidentally, hit it, it may just kind of pop apart. Now, another cool feature is these little shields, these little blast shield kind of things, and they have nice thick sections right there that latch on to the sides of these steel bulkhead plates, the steel decking rather, and it seems to be pretty good. As long as you're pulling these off nice and square and flush with the pattern, you're not torquing it or kind of bending it, it seems like you could attach and reattach these. Now, granted, if the stuff is painted, you might have an issue with some paint scrapage, but at least you can clip all your parts out, trim down the flash, and then kind of assemble stuff the way you want it before you glue it all down. Now, another cool feature of all of this is, I feel like I'm playing with Legos, which is awesome, is these little wires and things that can just hang underneath it. You can just plug them right in. You don't have to use these, but it would look a lot cooler if you did, and they can just go and they can go across like this anywhere that you don't have a column that is providing, support to the actual overall structure. And then last but not least, they have these little toggles, these rectangular toggles that they're designed to mess with these landing pad kind of plates. They slot in right there. They could slot in right here for gantry action. If you don't have one of these columns to go there, remember, a lot of times there's a container, like a tank or something underneath this, and that's what supports it. But if you don't have one of these struts, you can use these little toggles right here to attach them to the decking right there. Now, a lot of times these go together, something like this, and then you put another one over here and then another one up here, and but I mean, it's totally modular, which is really neat. Like, this is a very well thought out kind of system by Games Workshop, and I mean, kudos to them, because you just take a couple little pieces like this, and then these are your building blocks literally for all of those cool like towers and gantry systems and all that cool stuff we've always imagined in our minds, but never were quite able to build with the materials provided by them. But now here we go. This is a pretty affordable kit and way to pick up 3 of the kits. Let's see, this contains the furnace, the Magnavent, and the stack, and those right there are $175. The whole box itself is only $130 and comes with all of the instructions and everything, plus the 2 squad scouts, plus the orcs, plus the templates, plus the tokens. And so whatever value you place on that, I feel like all the way around, this is a good deal, because yes, you could craft something like this out of foam core, but I mean, look at this. Like, why take the time when you can get it in this fashion in this great bundle deal right here, which is probably why a lot of them are sold out, but I'm imagining you can still get them for at least retail at your local game store or Games Workshop retailer out there and here in North America, and of course all over Europe. I'm sure they're will be available at least the first week, so don't wait. If this is something that interests you, you may want to pick it up this weekend.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. Thelongwar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.